These days, we spend all our time trying to automate our artificial lighting, which made me wonder, why don't we automate a light source that's free, really bright, and best of all, promotes a healthy living? I am of course referring to natural sunlight. Well, my friends, with the SwitchBot Curtains, you can easily automate most types of curtains in just a few minutes without having to hire a professional, drill holes, or mess around with complicated wired systems. Automating my curtains has been a real game changer in my life. I want to warn you though, once you automate your home items like your lights, AC units, TVs, fireplaces, it really becomes hard to go back to the old days of having to get up to do something, flip a switch. I know it may sound rather petty, but this one-time setup for some home automation pays huge dividends over a long period of time. Think about it. How many times do you open and close your curtains or have to physically get up and flip a switch? You probably repeat these actions a few hundred times a year, and that really adds up. One of the most annoying things working on a computer all the time is that annoying glare from the sun. It causes me headaches, severe eye strain, and let's face it, I'm pretty lazy, as all human beings are, and I pretty much keep my curtains closed all the time. And being locked down at home in Canada during the winter, it's really tough on me mentally. I don't get enough sunlight, and I don't get my vitamin D naturally. Ever since I automated my curtains, I noticed that I was opening and closing them more often, just kind of like flicking a switch. I feel like I can enjoy my view more, have a more open space, expose myself to natural daylight, and of course, provide some much needed sunlight for my neglected plants. Before automating them, another issue I had with curtains was that sometimes it was really hard to reach over and kind of pull them. I honestly would strain my back trying to reach over my desk or over my large plant. Worst of all, the person who lived in this apartment before me and had installed these curtains really made a poor choice in materials. It was nearly impossible to open and close these curtains due to the excessive friction on the metal rings on the metal rod. There was also this really annoying transition bump on the metal curtain rod, and this forced me to stretch really high just to get it over the bump. I couldn't easily swing the curtains and just let them glide. Fortunately, I'm pretty tall at 6'3", so being able to close these curtains wasn't too difficult, but I imagine anyone shorter than me would have a really hard time, especially if they had to do this all the time every day for 365 times a year. Later in this video, I will address how I overcame the friction on the rod and how I made the SwitchBot curtain easily glide over the bump. Let's talk about one of my favorite aspects of SwitchBot and just in general, and that's their third-party integrations. Not only does SwitchBot excel at providing a fantastic UI experience on their native app, their engineers have done a wonderful job of integrating all the smart devices with third-party providers, providing us with a very open ecosystem. The way I interact with my home automation is mainly through the Google Assistant, and their Google Assistant integration is top-notch. I could literally be sitting on my desk and just say a few words just to close my curtains. And of course, all SwitchBot products, including the SwitchBot Curtains, have support for so many other integrations like Alexa, If This Then That, Siri, Clova, and SmartThings, so the possibilities are truly endless. Now, if you're not a voice person or don't want to interact with software, and that isn't your preference, you can still get the official physical button that's an accessory that allows you to open and close the curtain, or you can simply pull the curtain to activate the open or close procedure. So let's talk about installation and the compatibility with your curtain setup. The first thing I noticed when I was unboxing the SwitchBot curtains was the build quality. These are made of very solid plastic and they feel very sturdy. In fact, I actually dropped them twice, maybe even 3 times while I was setting them up. And that was just due to my negligence. I was trying to film the installation and trying to set them up at the same time. So I dropped them a couple times and I had noticed no issues and they worked totally fine. So very strong build quality. If you have one long curtain rod, you can get away with just buying one of these. But like most people, you're probably going to have 2 curtains. So you're going to need 2 of these and you can pair them together in the software. They're going to be treated as one unit. Another thing about the form factor I noticed is how lightweight the actual SwitchBot is. And this is quite good because you don't want to add extra weight to your curtains however they're mounted. And the lightweight really caught my surprise because this is a really strong, powerful motor and it has a decent sized battery all inside. So I'm pretty impressed with how they can jam this all in, make it very lightweight, but also very well built. So the battery is rated to last 8 months, and I haven't had this for 8 months, so I can't attest to that. However, I do have the optional solar panel, and by having this solar panel, you'll never need to charge it. But charging it every 8 months is probably not a big deal. It comes with an included USB-C cable that is rather long, so it makes the whole charging process really easy. In terms of the solar panels, I have to say they look really cool, but they're also very super lightweight. You can actually attach these directly onto your curtains through the included adhesive Velcro straps. Or you can just mount it directly onto the SwitchBot. Whichever position you choose probably depends on how much light you're going to get. Another neat feature they include on the SwitchBot curtain itself is a sunlight sensor, and this can be used to program and help save energy in your home. For example, let's say you have some thick blackout curtains that are also very good at insulating. So during the winter, you can keep the warmth inside your house, and during the summer, you can keep the coldness in your house. So this helps save energy and obviously electricity cost. So in terms of the actual installation, I want to stress how easy and intuitive it is to actually set up the curtains. I've seen other manufacturers attempt to make a simple solution to automate your curtains, and I've looked at them. They're super complicated. They required complicated pulley systems, intricate wiring. They had to be plugged in all the time. Now, you could probably hire a professional, but that costs probably thousands of dollars. With the SwitchBot curtains, you quite literally just open the clamp and just snap it on the rail on the backside. And then you can calibrate it in their software, which is also a really intuitive process, and you're basically done. Now, I'll go into more detail and highlight some of the possible caveats when trying to install this. But overall, I have to say the installation and the calibration was a dead simple, and most importantly, required no tools and no drilling. So fortunately, SwitchBot curtains are a very versatile solution, and they support all types of curtain styles. These styles include the typical rod, the U-rail, and the I-rail. I definitely recommend going on their website, which I'll leave in the description down below, just to check for compatibility. You just have to make sure that it fits properly. The type of curtain setup that I want to focus on is probably the most common one, at least in Canada, and that's just a plain old telescoping curtain rod with metal rings. The reason why they're so popular is that they're just so easily accessible here, since you can just get them at IKEA or at the local Home Depot. Now don't worry, installing these curtains is also very simple for the other type of styles, and what's amazing is that in the app, they guide you through the instructions with videos, so it's very detailed, very streamlined, and just very easy to follow overall. Now, I want to give you a word of warning. If you can, try to avoid having metal rings without bearings on a metal rod. That combination of metal rubbing on metal is going to produce a lot of friction when trying to move the curtains. Now just listen to the screeching noise as I move these curtains back and forth. It's very irritating. It's one of the worst things ever. But don't get me wrong, the SwitchBot curtains motor is very powerful and can handle this type of friction, but the issue is more of a concern if you have a rather large transition bump on the telescoping rod. The friction and the bump compounded together make the SwitchBot get stuck sometimes. So if you can, opt in for a plastic rod and plastic rings. It's naturally less abrasive and allows for easier sliding. But if you're like me and you can't change your existing setup, try the following. Number one, and the most obvious one, is get rid of anything that's in the way. Clear out any boundaries that affect the curtain's path. In my case, my curtains were super long, they needed to be hemmed, and they always got stuck on the desk that's nearby or any furniture or some plants like that. Number two, if you have a metal rod with just the basic type of metal rings, try to replace them with the ones that have bearings on the top. This will allow for a much easier gliding path. Alternatively, if you were like me and you couldn't replace the ring types, then perhaps you might want to try this solution. I went out and I bought this special type of tape that allows for very easy gliding. It's called UHMW, Ultra High Molecular Weight Polyethylene Tape. So I think it's just made of nylon. This tape is pretty nifty. It literally makes anything slide like butter. This is a must-have if you can't replace your rod or your rings. And it's actually quite handy around the house if you have other things that have a lot of friction. I'll leave a link in the description to the special tape I used. I found that 0.75 inches in terms of the width of the tape worked for my rail size. However, near the transition bump, I layered tape on the top and bottom portion so the motor has effectively a ramp to climb on. There are better ways to deal with a transition bump, which I'll show very soon, but I have to say the tape method is very reliable and hasn't failed me once. The sliding action on my rail is buttery smooth, and the curtain slider never gets stuck. Number three, this is also a very important one, and this is to smooth out the transition or the bump on the curtain rod so that the motor can effectively climb over the bump. In my case, I opted for a quick solution by using the UHMW tape to build basically a little ramp on the top and bottom portion of the bump. Now, this isn't the most ideal solutions. There are better solutions out there. You can use a curtain rod cover, for example, but I was in a pinch. I used this method, and from afar, I hardly noticed the tape up there. If you can, I definitely recommend opting in for the curtain rod cover installation method. I think it's going to be a lot more seamless. So that's the basic installation process. With the caveat of the little bump, it was really easy to install overall. The best part about this is that the software experience, getting everything loaded up and calibrated, paired, was just super simple. Nothing really difficult there. It's very just intuitive overall. Now you'll need the SwitchBot Mini Hub if you want to connect this to the cloud and have it integrated with all the Google Assistant, if this and that, Alexa, etc. I definitely recommend getting that. I'll make a full video about that on how some of the other benefits it provides, such as the IR blaster, which allowed me to open my fireplace, handle esoteric appliances, and also control my TV. Definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to see that video in the future. Okay, Google, turn off the fireplace.
Guys, turning fireplace off.
So I talked about how I absolutely love this new curtain automation. It's not just the convenience factor of not having to manually reach over to pull the curtains. It's really about mental health. It's widely accepted in the scientific community that natural light is integral for a healthy living. And especially in Canada during the winter where it's cold, dark, the days are short, it's cloudy, it's always gloomy for half the year. Every little bit of sunlight exposure is critical to our health. What's amazing is that you can set a schedule and have your curtains open up to wake you up. And let's be honest, nothing feels better than being naturally awoken by natural daylight. It's Mother Nature's natural alarm clock and something our ancestors have been accustomed to. What's also important is pure darkness when going to sleep on the other side. This helps melatonin production during the night to allow for a better deep sleep and overall better health. So having the curtains open and closed through automation really promotes healthy sleeping habits, which in turn translate to your better mental and physical well-being. Overall, I have to say I really love the SwitchBot curtains. They've really added a lot of value to my life. Anyways, that's it for this video. Please let me know what you guys think about it. Leave me your comments and suggestions down below, and definitely hit the like button. It really helps out the channel, and I will see you in the next video.